Welcome to SPG Leaders Procurement Clinic, a very dedicated series of digitally administered discussions on very critical themes that the procurement community, particularly, and supply chain in general, uh, feels the need of. Procurement Clinic is a theme that we have started as a leaders. It's our first ever session under Procurement Clinic. I'm Pinag, I'm your host for today, and I've got an excellent panel which together represents 125 years of experience within themselves, eager to share on this topic of rebalancing procurement in the changing global landscape. Happy to introduce the panelists for the day. We have Manoj, comes with 3 decades excellent track record of procurement transformation, a thought leader, has multiple achievements in his professional career. And particularly, what I like about him is he firmly believes that procurement is a value add function and it's not a back end function. Something which very well resonates with the way even Apple looks at procurement. So, welcome Manoj to this webinar. Our second panelist is Amol, comes with 2 decades of experience, is an excellent professional in this domain, multiple industries that he has worked. Supply chain collaboration, particularly with supplier collaboration, is his forte, has been in the industry as a strategic growth enabler for his organizations, does not believe only in cost savings, thinks that forging business partnerships are extremely important, mitigating supplier risks, which I think is a very important emerging domain today, is his forte. And he has been driving a lot of change through operational excellence in the organization that he works. So I welcome Amol to this webinar on behalf of SPG Leaders. To complete the panel, and as we always say, the best for the last, we have Swapnil, extremely self-driven, has a great track record in the industry for achieving extremely good outcomes for his organization that he has been working with, handles direct, indirect sourcing, has worked in packaging, retail, FMCG, many sectors that he has experienced. One of his greatest achievements is an international assignment where it was a greenfield project in an Asian economy. Strong supplier relationships, cross-functional collaboration. He seeks to always expand his horizons. We have Swapnil on the panel today. Extremely glad to actually have him. Is an August speaker. We have the founder of SPG today, SPG Leaders today, Gautam Hardikar, comes with 20 plus years of experience in the field of training and development, has been a master with India's largest training company and is now on his own. So I welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you for joining today. It's my pleasure to host you today, actually. To begin this conversation, to set it rolling, I'd like to start with Manoj with a very quick question, and I'll ask Amol and Swapnil to chip in. Manoj, in your opinion, when you look at procurement, you've spent 3 decades in this domain now. You must have seen other evolution of this field. In your fundamental perspective, does an organization need to look at procurement as a risk shield, a value center, or is it a cost center? Over to you, Manoj.
Yeah, first of all, good afternoon and happy to be here. Thanks for having me here. And this question is very interesting. Procurement or and above cost center or and above risk center is actually or should be actually looked at as a strategic function. Okay, because this is a function who drives the strategy in the operations.
Yeah, right.
Its primary objective is to align the organization strategy with the operation strategy, procurement strategy. So first and foremost thing is that it's a strategic function. Second and most important is, yes, it's a function which mitigates the risks, because you name any risk, you take a risk related to sustainability, you take the risk related to uh, digitalization, you take the external risks which are related
Mm,
to natural
absolutely.
disaster, anything. Procurement is the function who anticipates the risk and who takes steps to mitigate those risks, and in a way contributes towards making the function, making the organization, or converting the organization from its current state to a resilient organization.
Correct.
Third and most important thing is that it's a value creator, because no more people in procurement are focusing on cost. Their objective is to drive value. So,
Mm, mm.
value creation is also its fundamental, or it is at its core. So, to start with, it's a strategic function. It's not merely a cost center, it's a risk mitigator, and it's a value creator. That's my take
Fantastic.
on procurement.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you for that. Can I request Amol for a quick response to that? Is it a risk shield, value creator, or a cost center in your opinion?
Sure. And again, first of all, good afternoon to everybody. And I'm really delighted and excited to be part of this forum. And I think to start, Manoj has really placed it nicely. What I would only probably added from my end is I think procurement is a business stabilizer. We
Okay.
protect cost, value, and risk simultaneously. So I would say choosing one of three is not fair. It's actually we are the balance point between all these 3 points. If we position ourselves as just one of three, we tend to lose as procurement, because
Mm,
procurement's real power is that we connect all these three levels together, is what I firmly believe.
fantastic. Swapnil, would you have a perspective which probably complements or contradicts? I don't know.
Hmm. No, definitely complementing what Manoj and Amol just mentioned. And firstly, I would like to thank SPG Leaders for having me here, and Pinak. It's uh, great to discuss and this very important topic along with you, Manoj and Amol. So Manoj has beautifully explained in detail what how procurement is a value creator. Amol has put it, I would say, a very new and good definition that procurement is a business stabilizer. It
Mm,
is, I mean, procurement is the front face. We are the only uh, front line of an organization who is facing the external world. So we are a bridge between the internal and external um, worlds of the organization. So yes, it is an value add. It is a value addition and a value creator function, Pinak.
fantastic. Thank you so much. Uh, I appreciate that all three of you actually are talking about something which the 21st century procurement and supply chain is all about. Because I still remember that if we were to talk 25 years ago on the same topic, most of us would have chosen cost center as
Cost.
equivalent of
Absolutely.
procurement. Because I really appreciate that you three have a perspective which is a strategic function, B, it's a business balancer, and three, we are a value creator. Goes very well because today's topic, which is rebalancing procurement in the changing global landscape, will probably need procurement to play at the forefront of being a business stabilizer, being a strategic function, at the same time, value levers which the organization may look for, something like innovation, something like speed, something like resilience, is something that procurement will have to deliver. Uh, we all appreciate that we are passing through a phase in the world of business where the fundamentals of what made the business run for last at least 70 to 80 years are getting dismantled. Uh, I call it as the once in a generation change. Will not get into the details of that, but will it have an impact on my domain of work? Then the answer is yes to all of us. So today's topic that we've chosen for the webinar is actually about uh, giving a perspective to our procurement fraternity of how will they need to rebalance procurement in the changing global landscape. In today's webinar, we'll try to focus on 4 or 5 major things. Are procurement priorities changing? And if they are, then how are they shifting? We'll try to look at strategic sourcing practices which are evolving. We'll also try to appreciate vendor rationalization, which has been a theme for last few years, and its impact on risk now, because the world suddenly realized, I think, after COVID, that low-cost country sourcing was never a strategy; it was just an accident. And the vendor rationalization probably concentrated the risk of the procurement function. Last but not the least, in today's discussion, I would really love to hear from all of you. If I were to be a procurement professional, I've spent some years in the industry now. What competencies will I need to possess to thrive in the future? Because the foundation, the basic thinking of a procurement professional of the past, and probably his learnings from his experience of the past, may not actually ride him through what is happening in the world today and probably what's tomorrow. So I think it's going to be an interesting talk for me at a personal level, because I personally believe that from a globalized world, we are now getting dismantled, we are getting deglobalized very fast. Uh, in my own domain of work, where I work with my industry partners, I realize that we have misaligned strategies for various categories of products. Vendor rationalization has led to reliance on limited suppliers. COVID added to the challenge of bankruptcies and loss of supplier bases across geographies. And many of us were not prepared for that type of environment to work in. Suddenly, it has come to us, and there normally people who are in the domain will talk about at least 3 shocks in the last 5 years: the COVID shock, the Ukraine-Russia shock, and the tariff shock. And it's reshaping procurement in a very major way. Uh, Today we'll discuss that, and I'm very sure that the audience of SPG leaders will listen to this webinar would gain a lot. Amol, can I start with you if you don't mind? I have a very interesting observation about what I'm seeing in the industry. I just wanted to cross-check with you. Uh, are procurement priorities changing on the ground in your experience?
Yep, that's a fantastic question. And we in procurement in my company and between my folks, we keep on talking about it. And it's, I mean, the world is changing and procurement has to change, right? And it is changing. So a lot of priorities have undergone a change. You talked about COVID, you talked about different shocks just a while ago, Pinak. I would say in last 2, 3 years, particularly, procurement KPIs are undergoing a tremendous change. I mean, a usual or obvious question would be always, oh, how much can you save? What's your
Correct.
savings pipeline looking at for next year? That's the usual procurement question everybody face. But what I've seen is the good matured organization are slowly shifting towards from what you can save is one, can what kind of value that you can create, and more importantly, can you keep my business running without disruption? In the
Mm,
tariff world, in the changing priorities world, the most important factor beyond on paper savings is, can business run without disruption, and how supply chain contribute towards that in a most effective manner from a cost standpoint, from a value standpoint, from a risk standpoint. So I would say earlier, lowest price used to always win. But now we kind of see the lowest total cost of failure matters more.
mm,
So just to give one of the example at a high level, in my one of previous role, we had two suppliers, one 3 to 5% cheaper, but smaller in nature from a global standpoint, also volatile. Whereas another supplier, which is slightly expensive, but geopolitically stable, very, very nimble in terms of and agile in terms of where the world is moving. So few years ago, probably a cheaper solution, we would have gone by both hands.
Gone with that.
But now we kind of choose resiliency over the Excel calculated saving. So that's particularly what has changed. And I think that has changed for good because that gives a lot of stability to organization. So probably just to summarize, I'll say that three shifts I see if I summarize
Okay.
in a bullet points. One, from a mere focus towards price, we talk about a risk adjusted price now.
Are
From a
wow,
just
very
in
nice.
time days, we talk about just in case now. And from pure play procurement being an annual negotiator, we talk about a continuous risk sensing. So these are the
Mm.
three pillars I think which has changed. And yes, don't get me wrong, savings still matter and it will matter for procurement people, but only when business
Okay.
continuity is guaranteed. So
Rather,
we
the way
used to
you calculate risk has, calculate cost has changed now.
exactly. So we
It's a
used to
risk
chase,
adjusted cost. Very
correct.
nice.
We used to
It's a great insight.
chase efficiency, but now we build resilience, even if the
Mm.
cost is slightly more at times. So that's how I would summarize my thing.
Fantastic. I like this term. I'll come back to you a bit later with an follow-up question to this. But as you rightly say, from a low cost to a risk-adjusted cost, from a efficiency to a resilience, uh, I'm very sure that that also means that as a procurement professional, and particularly if I'm working in strategic sourcing in an organization, the way I find new sources of supply will change. And the way I evaluate them, the way I appraise them, the way I select them, or the way I have to undertake supply market analysis as a contemporary practice will undergo a change. Swapnil, can I kindly request you to throw some light on this if you may wish to throw some light on that topic? Is there a change in your focus on finding new sources of supply, considering what Amol said?
Yeah. So a very, very important topic of which currently most of the uh, organizations are going through, and procurement, as we are also leading the sourcing part. I mean, it's one of our KPIs. So with the changes and with the changes which we have seen in the geopolitical scenarios right now, and tariff and the Ukraine-Russia war which has been going on, apart from wars, there are other wars as well, which has drastically affected the strategy of going global to going regional in terms of
Okay.
sourcing.
Mm.
So that major shift has which we have seen in the sector, in our sector, and how we are with the pressure of the tariffs and the pressure of, as Amol rightly mentioned, now the number one priority is sustainable supplies, and not getting the cheapest supplier. So, in pursuit of sourcing the sustainable supplies and the regional supplies which are not affected by the supply chain disruptions, with, for example, Panama was one of the examples because of which the shipments were delayed, hampering the business. So one of our commodities in healthcare FMCG, so we are finding regional sources for this commodity. It's in pain relief commodity. So paracetamol is one of the commodities which is now going regional, from global to regional.
Mm.
So this is one of the crucial commodities which we have been working on for over past couple of years now, right? And apart from this, the focus is shifting, mentioned, it is shifting from global to regional, Pinak. Yeah.
So, shall I look at this shift from being global to regional from two or three perspectives, and maybe you can uh, correct if I'm wrong. You went from global to regional so that the reliability of supply improves. That's the first thing.
Yes.
Second is you want more trusted partners rather than only low cost partners.
Right.
And a third thing is it naturally brings in more responsiveness than a global supply chain. For example, when the Panama Canal happened, I think in March of the previous year, the global supply chains were stuck. So being
Yeah.
regional allowed you to move the goods far easier. So it also brings in that element of risk management to it.
Right.
Uh, Fantastic. I'll just extend this discussion with Manoj, with kind permission of Manoj, uh, because if you really look at the funnel, I have a funnel where I've now said that, look, my procurement priorities have changed. Procurement priorities are now risk-adjusted cost. My vendor selection criteria also is now more in in line with what my company policies of business stability require me to support. Uh, I'm very sure all of us then have a challenge here, and the challenge here is the pre-2020 era. If I were to just create a division in eras, the pre-2020 era was about searching for suppliers, and then someone told us that, look, now we need to do vendor-based rationalization because we have too many vendors. And it was a very key initiative for many companies. I mean, I've seen companies go down from 750 vendors to 150 vendors. And, naturally, that time they believed that, look, it is a great initiative. We are creating more strategic vendors for us. That time, geography was not a real concern, but mostly it was around vendor rationalization. Manoj, this dramatic change in the global landscape, and particularly it has got a bit fastened with 2025 events that we have seen. Now, this entire initiative of vendor rationalization, which led to reliance on a few but strategic or large vendors in the organization. Now, I may have a vendor who is not with a friendly country anymore. How do I rebalance now in this case now?
Great. So thanks, Pinak. Actually, it's a very thought-provoking question. I remember pre-COVID era or even during COVID era also, our focus was majorly on geographical de-risking or maybe
Correct.
adding as many vendors as possible. If one particular state or one particular country goes into lockdown, what will happen? You should have as many suppliers as possible. And suddenly it has changed in the new normal situation wherein
Mm,
now the entire focus is on vendor rationalization. Okay. It's a crucial initiative, as a matter of fact, for many organizations because rationalization, when we say, the obvious thing that comes to our mind is just cut the number of vendors, and right sizing doesn't come in anyone's, I can say, the as a process to
mm,
make sure that the right suppliers are maintained and the strategic partners or the value added partners are continued and rest of the suppliers are eliminated. That doesn't come to anyone's mind. Only thing
correct.
that comes to the organizations or the only initiative the supply chain team or procurement team manages is to reduce the number of vendors, which is
Mm,
not the case actually. So, to rebalance, I would recommend a multi-step approach. Okay, first and foremost thing is that, uh, and we have done this practically in our current organization as well as in our previous organization. Our reassessment of our landscape of the
okay.
total supply
Okay.
base,
Okay.
and then categorize them typically based on risk, based on spend, based on strategic importance.
Mm,
That's the first step that helps in identifying the areas where diversification is necessary that we can identify.
mm,
Then, existing suppliers, we need to evaluate their current financial health, their capacity, their capabilities, so that we can understand whether they are able to meet our future demands.
mm,
So, what we did for multiple criterias, okay, if you want to straight away give an example, we were having multiple suppliers, or I can say about 100 suppliers supplying just one particular commodity. Okay, so the spend was distributed amongst those 100 suppliers. We made sure that five suppliers out of those are selected as our strategic partners. Okay, technically re-evaluated them and then consolidated the entire spend. Now those five suppliers were from domestic, also
mm,
from international region, but we made sure that a strategic alliance is kept, or strategic alliance is maintained with these five suppliers, and rest all suppliers are now eliminated from our business. So this
mm,
is how I we have ensured the rebalancing of vendor rationalization, not merely focusing on cutting the number of suppliers, but making sure assessing the entire supply base,
mm, mm.
identifying the strategic suppliers, and then establishing a long-term alliance with them.
Correct. Fantastic. And this brings
Right?
us to a very important thing, because I think what Manoj gave us as an example here actually takes us back to what Amol was saying. Uh, the spend, risk, and strategic importance as the dimensions that Manoj referred to for vendor right sizing actually have their roots in what I think Amol was saying, that it's actually a rebalancing act in the context of managing risks leading to business continuity. Amol, because you referred to risk sometime back in our conversation, it just intrigues me to ask you this, that uh, would you like to share an example of that? I mean,
Sure.
how risk management is playing a role in your organization, or generally in rebalancing act that we are experiencing today.
Absolutely. And I have learned the hard ways in some sense as well, because I mean, earlier, risk management in procurement was always an appendix at the end of my strategy slides. But now I can say that it's always the first slide for me, the risk balancing and the risk management. So, yes,
Mm,
if I have to give a quick example, I'd say during the Red Sea crisis,
mm,
you know,
mm,
one of our logistic partners almost doubled the lead times overnight, right?
mm,
Now, we knew this, we predicted this in some sense in advance, that should such situation arise, what to do. That kind of help to adjust it instead of scrambling. We had already kind of mapped what our dual lane backup routes through alternate carriers would be. Obviously those choices was not cheaper, but it prevented a production halt worth
mm,
millions, right? So
mm,
that kind
mm.
of approach helped us in saving a lot
Okay.
of time, a lot of business disruption, etc. So I would say risk, first of all, is no longer a compliance checkbox, what it used to be. It's now a kind of an active sourcing lever. And I would
Mm,
again segregate into three really bullet points. One, I think we should have is a multi-tier supplier visibility, and Manoj rightfully alluded on this particular point, and not just tier one, which most of the large organizations tend to do. So multi-tier supplier visibility. I think the second most important is using geodiversity as a cost offset. That's
mm,
emerged as a second aspect. And third, I think building the real-time risk triggers rather than only depending on monthly, quarterly reviews. These are the
mm.
three things that has been helpful personally for me, my team, and
Correct.
in sports we always talk about defense and offense. So I put for myself in this particular fashion is that in short, what we are doing is risk used to be always defensive, but now
Mm.
it's a strategic offense for us. That's how I would summarize this.
I completely agree. I mean, something that creates a hurdle to achieve your objective is risk, and you nicely narrated this, because all of us have passed through that phase of Red Sea crisis, and oh, I've personally been through that when the undersea cables were cut off, and it's a geopolitical dimension to that. But I'm very sure that as you face the Red Sea, Swapnil would have experienced in his procurement about any commodity which he actually tracks, he works with. And due to this entire rebalancing act that he has to do, triggered due to tariffs, triggered due to realignment between countries in terms of their friendliness or otherwise. Uh, Sometimes I would imagine that Swapnil would have had to redo his commodity study. Swapnil, it will be extremely kind of you if you could explain one sample example of yours of any commodity that you wish to choose to help us appreciate, because our viewers will really love to hear that as a detailed case to understand how the rebalancing act for a commodity was done. I've taken the cue from your talk where you alluded to that.
Yeah.
You may choose another commodity, it's perfectly all right.
Yeah, very interesting question, and we are at a very interesting topic here, because what we have seen that whatever we present in the beginning of the year in our category strategy, so we are changing it on a quarterly basis now. So
Okay.
whatever category strategy we do for a commodity, I'll take I'll take once again the pain relief commodity. It's a restricted commodity in nature, so the sources are from the countries where it has been affected by the current war. It's in a war zone, right?
Okay.
So till now, if you see till for last, I would say for last 50 to 75 years, this commodity has been the most stable commodity with the most stable pricing structure till now. But in the recent past, due to the war and the pressure from US, this commodity is under a tremendous pressure. And now, if we see, there are only couple of sources. One is in Europe and one is from the Middle Eastern region. Um, so the Middle Eastern region has been affected. Europe is somewhat stable, but as we discussed, there has been a pricing difference, which we all know in
Mm.
these two different regions, right? Now what now when we prepare for the year and looking for the sustainable supplies, the situation has changed. I mean, we are forced to change the sources as well for this commodity. Now we are in discussion that we, along with a partner, we cultivate this. I mean, we are going to the cultivation stage where till now we have not been, right? So
Mm.
because the cultivation is more or less stabilized and stable till now, there is a cultivation in Middle East, Europe, and ANZ area. So
Mm.
Australia is also one of the sources. So now we are working along with a partner to have the cultivation in the Australian region, ANZ region, considering the most stable region till,
Mm. Mm.
I
Mm.
mean,
In this
the most
entire,
stable region, yeah, in the
I
entire
agree.
globe. So, so this is how procurement is making a different. I mean, we are
Okay.
acting as a business stabilizer, taking, as Amol rightly mentioned, and Manoj also mentioned. So, not only we are, I mean, working on the commercial side, but we are exploring the ideas of changing the uh, uh, changing the entire supply chain and the origin of this, right? So
Rather, I would believe that you have gone too much out of the box.
yeah, yeah, because this was, I mean, the region was cultivating this crop, though it is in a restricted category, but they are now, with our interest and with the business potential they are seeing, they are ready to support to increase the production, right?
Mm.
And not only cultivation but the purification stage, I mean, that's the most important stage. They are ready to set up, I mean, there is a facility, so they are ready to build and um take this facility to a next level and increase the capacity of this. So very interesting. I mean,
Very
see,
interesting.
very interesting, and this will not happen in 1 year. So we are working on a long-term project,
Correct.
3 years minimum, and with a long term, we will see the benefits in next 3 to 5 years
That's
in of the time frame. Yeah.
that's so nice. And this leads to me to thinking something which probably all of us have to, as leaders, think about. But what you explained right now is a very atypical procurement activity. It's neither commercial. It's not only about trying to understand trend of the commodity and then decide for a tactical decision of strategic storage through inventory management or something like that. But what you've actually explained here is you have expanded the competencies required by a procurement professional. It's
Yeah.
completely out of the box to think about cultivation. It's completely out of the box for me to think that a particular commodity, and if it is cultivation, I would assume it's an agri-based commodity. You
Yes.
search for a geography where it could be. You search for a geography which is relatively stable in an unstable world. You have chosen a geography which probably also has a close relationship or a friendly relationship with your country where you are buying it for. It's a fantastic insight, and I'll just extend this discussion to Manoj. And my request to Manoj would be that would you like to share with 3 decades in this domain that you've seen procurement evolve over a period of time? Now, what would be those specific competencies that I, as a procurement professional, should possess in the new world of work? Because what Swapnil explained right now is the new world of work for many of us. I mean, I've never seen a procurement guy talk cultivation. So, can I request Manoj to share his own insights into what kind of specific competencies do you think an Indian procurement professional would need to adapt to this new world of work?
Great. So, had you asked this question to me 10 years back, I would have only told you that the person should be well versed with, aspects of cost management. He
Correct.
should know how many vendors are to be added. So, all those transactional stuff. Okay. Even when I used to interview professionals 10 years back, my question was always centered around this basic stuff. Today, we talk about something which was not heard of. First and foremost thing is data-driven decision making. Okay.
Mm,
Every procurement professional is supposed to consider data as a fuel and have an ability to analyze that data and take informed decisions out of it. So that
correct.
ability is very much important, and I would rate it as a number one capability, which is essential. Second in the row, but not least in the importance, is digital literacy. Okay.
Mm,
Understanding the digital tools, understanding the digital platforms, have an experience of hands-on experience of working those platforms, leveraging those tools, and taking again informed decisions. And when I'm saying these capabilities, I'm not, I can say, bifurcating the capabilities which are required for a leader and the capabilities which are required for a professional at an operating level. Everyone should possess these
correct.
capabilities. Okay, not only that leader should be having this digital mindset and all that. Everyone.
Everyone should have.
Third thing, is strategic thinking, of course. And strategy, I always give importance because that's the thing I find missing today in this Gen Z. They should understand what organization's goals, objectives are, and how my every action that I'm initiating in procurement is contributing to that organizational goals or organizational strategies. Fourth is risk management. Understanding what kind of risks this particular function, this particular organization is carrying and take steps. Again, we talk
Yeah,
about resilience in every forum. And uh, understanding a deep understanding of sustainability. Sustainability was once upon a time considered as a hobby. If you know sustainability, it's okay. It's a 34, 35-year-old baby, but it is now getting to a mature stage. So
Hmm.
the procurement professional should understand what sustainability is, what ESG goals are. So these are the capabilities that every procurement
Fantastic.
professional, be it at operating level, be it at leader level, should possess, and make sure that he is, having a proficiency in these capabilities and
Wow.
competencies.
Fantastic. I mean, uh, without the intent of making the discussion get weaved in the way it got weaved in, right from the first point which I discussed with Amol till the last point that I've discussed with Manoj, uh, we just have traveled the journey together for last 45, 50 minutes, and it's an insight that I think I've loved to have. Uh, for the paucity of time, and all of us have commitments, I'll like to probably close the discussion. I thank Manoj, Amol, Swapnil for great insights, the practical perspective that you've offered today in this discussion. Uh, the journey that we've traveled over the last few minutes or an hour now almost, uh, really appreciate that procurement from a cost focused function to a strategic enabler is the real rebalancing act for the global changing landscape today. Uh, we'll have to all navigate global disruptions. We'll have to rebalance our supplier bases. And as Amol highlighted it multiple times, risk is not the last slide. It probably has to be integrated into every single procurement management decision that we take. Wholeheartedly thank all three of you for this discussion today. I've made some notes during the discussion. I'll just summarize them, and probably then we can close today's discussion. I've made only five notes of the discussion. Taking a cue from Manoj and Amol, uh, we need to balance, procurement needs to balance cost with resilience and reliability. Uh, Focus on total value, not only on the lowest cost supplier. And that's one take that I have from our discussion today. Uh, Second thing which I've heard, and I heard it from Swapnil predominantly, is we need global supplier strategies, uh, from global sourcing to regional sourcing, have regional backups. Amol highlighted the need for having multi-tier sourcing. Uh, Manoj highlighted the need for having harmonized vendor frameworks, which all should result into business continuity and at the same time minimize the risk impact on the organization. The third takeaway from today's session, which I think is very, very crucial, and it came at a later stage of our discussion, is data. We need to be data driven for making smarter decisions. And if we can weave this data with market intelligence, which Swapnil highlighted, I think it's a deadly combination for success. Visibility across regions, which will enable all of us for proactive problem solving. For example, when Amol highlighted that the Red Sea crisis was anticipated, so we were ready with our alternatives for faster response to that disruption, I think is a very key takeaway. So, data and at the same time, market intelligence will drive smarter decisions in procurement. One consistent thing which came out throughout our discussion today, that to rebalance procurement in the changing global landscape, we'll all have to look at risk management as a strategic function. We'll all have to think about scenarios, examples of paracetamol, which Swapnil quoted, examples of Red Sea, which Amol quoted. We'll need scenario planning, and contingency strategies are no longer optional. We'll have to make them essential. I like that. And the last, which I made as my fifth learning of the day, was future-ready competencies matter. And I liked what Manoj said. Let's not divide competencies as if they were supposed to be for leaders and operational people separately. There are certain common competencies, which is data is a common competency, ability to dissect, really read through the data. Digital literacy, for example, is a very important thing. And it cuts across hierarchies. It's not limited to just strategic leaders. Strategic thinking is no more strategic. It is actually required. You'll have to develop operational strategies. So don't look at strategic thinking reserved only for the C-suite. And look at strategic thinking even for my day-to-day affairs. One most important thing, which I think has come out amongst all Manoj, Amol, and Swapnil as panelists today is procurement, because it is no more just a cost function, it is a value creator, it is a business balancer. Strong relationships, not only with suppliers, but our ability to collaborate across the organization. I'm very sure that when Swapnil gave us the example of the commodity that he explained, cultivation to receipt of the material in the geography that he needs. I'm very sure it's not only about supplier collaboration, it is about stakeholder collaboration across all stakeholder functions. And because you're traveling through a complex environment, I mean, the VUCA world is over, the FICA world is real. And the transition from VUCA to FICA is the management of the changing global landscape. I think these are my 5 key learnings from today's discussion. I again thank each one of you. I had a great time talking with you, and I hope we catch up very soon. On my concluding remarks, I would request all the viewers of this webinar. Today's discussion was triggered due to some discussion that we had with some practitioners in the industry. And they told us that, look, Pinak, look, Swapnil, look, Manoj, look, Amol, we have this challenge. Look, Gautam, that can you get someone who can talk about it? So these webinars are for youth. Procurement Clinic as a theme is for the procurement professionals typically experience problems. And we request all of you, if you have any such discussions that you expect to solve some of your problems with real life examples, please do share which topics interest you. And at SPG Leaders, we'll be happy to organize such type of insightful discussions. Trust me, I mean, today's speakers actually gave us insights which probably are not really easily accessible to many of us. On this note, I'll take a break. Thank Manoj, thank Amol, thanks Swapnil once again. We'll close the discussion for the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pinak.
Thank you, Pinak. Thank you, Amol.
Yes.
Thank you, Manoj.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you
so
so much,
before
all.
we formally close, I would like to say that very soon we will be coming up with our next topic along with panelists. And thank you, all of you. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, Gautam.
Thank you. Bye. Take care. Bye.